right, and welcome to Not Suitable for Adults. It's the podcast where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Okay.
That's always, when I'm doing the intro, that's always what I'm thinking of.
What is that from?
It's from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always the...
Man, that's a good show.
I know.
But the kind of the retro version, I think it got a little...
Yeah,
when it got modernized, it wasn't as good to me.
Yeah, there was an early version without Drew Carey.
Oh, okay.
That was good.
Okay.
That had most of the players that you see on the show, and then Drew Carey took it over, and it was still very good. And then what's her name?
Yeah,
that hosts it now. She does a good job. It's still a funny show. I think we just kind of all got used to the format, maybe.
Right. It's hard to, what am I trying to say? Improvise things that have been improvised a million times.
Yeah.
I'm looking up her name right now if you want to introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Rich.
Oh, hi. My name is Natalie.
And we host a podcast that is not about Whose Line Is It Anyway, but it's important, so let's go ahead and figure it out.
Aisha Tyler.
There she is. Mm-hmm. Famously, Ross's girlfriend on Friends that time. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, let's instead talk about some kids' shows and movies. What do you think?
I love it.
This week we're doing a doppelganger episode. Because it's going.
Hey, I feel like I've seen you before.
Yeah, I feel like I've listened to this episode before. We are covering The Hollow this week and the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies.
Yes.
Because this week Natalie has watched all of season 1 of The Hollow.
I did,
and we watched the other 2 movies and the Honey, I Shrunk or the Honey series. Because they're not all shrunk. Some of them are blew up.
That's true.
So, we're going to start by talking about The Hollow.
Mm-hmm. I just saw the first season.
Perfect. Natalie, what did you think of season 1 of The Hollow?
I did enjoy it. I thought it was very entertaining. I liked the mystery aspect of it. I liked just trying to figure out what's going on for myself, kind of. So I guess just the interactive mystery behind like what's going on.
Who are these people?
I didn't like that sentence I just said. It didn't make sense to me.
Who are these people? What are they doing here?
Yeah. Couple of things. It seems that they take turns being annoying, but they're also teenagers.
Mm-hmm. Which is what teenagers do.
Right. Interestingly enough, the girl, so there's 2 boys and a girl that are our main characters, and the girl is not the annoying one.
No, she's not.
She's not. She's very level-headed.
She's not the team leader, really. Like, Adam is kind of the team leader.
Right.
But she is, like, the spiritual leader
yeah,
of the team. She's
the voice of reason and everything. And then it's Adam and Kai, the 2 guys that are, like, having a power struggle.
Yeah.
Or Kai is a lot more goofy, and Adam thinks he needs to take it more seriously. Mm-hmm. And Kai is a lot more trusting, and Adam thinks everybody is a bad guy. So
yeah, he's very strategic. It's not that he's like paranoid.
So at first I was a little annoyed at Kai and his goofiness, and if you're found in this situation, I wouldn't be cracking jokes. But then he became a little bit of a relief to Adam's very stodgy just structure. But then Adam got, a little, I don't know. He took on the role of leader, and anybody that said anything differently, he automatically said no to, especially Kai. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a good leader.
Well, they're kind of learning on the fly. We'll do a little bit of spoileriness for season 1 of The Hollow. I keep cutting them out, but I have to cough a lot this morning. I've got some phlegm in my throat, and Natalie's looking at me.
Don't tell people that. They don't want to know that.
I think, well, maybe they do.
Do you want a drink of my water?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So we'll do a little bit of spoilers for season 1 of The Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
These kids, and we talked briefly about this last week, but they wake up in a room with no doors, with a drain on the floor, and with a vent in the ceiling, and a typewriter. Mm-hmm. And they don't know who they are, and they don't know each other, and...
They don't know themselves.
Yeah. They've got to figure out a way to get out of the room.
They find their names written on pieces of paper in their pockets.
Yeah.
So they know their names, but only that.
Mm-hmm. So they do the only thing they can do. They start playing with the typewriter, mm-hmm. and they figure out that when they type certain letters, certain blocks in the wall move mm-hmm. to give them a sort of stepping stone to get out of the room, to get up to the vent.
Yes.
They have to type in the word help, which is what gets them to be able to move first. Mm-hmm. And then gas starts to fill the room, and they have to escape quickly. And very quickly, it's all about moving on to the next area. It's very, and they figure this out after a while. It's very video game like.
Yeah, each one of them has a particular set of powers that they didn't realize they had until they discovered it. Mm-hmm. So Adam is the ninja strength guy. He's fighter. And
he figures that out pretty quickly because he's able to very easily climb these blocks.
And punch out the vent.
Yeah.
We don't find out Mira's, who is the girl, we don't find out her power until we think she has drowned. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, actually, hey, she can breathe water, she swims like a fish, and she can talk to animals. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was weird to have her be very aquatic, but be able to talk to all animals. I feel like she should just be able to talk to fish.
Yeah, I think her powers are sort of based on Aquaman.
Okay.
But then
Can he talk to animals?
Well, he can talk to fish. Okay. And so I think that power set began there, and it was like, but they're not going to spend the whole time in the water. Mm-hmm. So it's like a nature kind of thing, but mostly water and animals.
Well, they all have two things, right? They all have two things. She can do the water stuff and talk to animals. Mm-hmm. Adam can do the ninja moves and has strength. And Kai, we find out in several episodes, he keeps talking about how he can't do anything except he is really good at fixing things. Mm-hmm. So he's got a technical brain and he can fix things really easily. But he keeps saying, like, that's just something people can do. What's my superpower? And then we find out when he's trapped in a fire-filled roller coaster. Actually, it's all like a haunted house, isn't it? It's a haunted house that catches on fire, and he realizes that he can control fire. And apparently he can create fire, too.
Yeah, he turns out to be, like, arguably the most powerful of them, in my mind. Because he also...
Yeah. He uses the fire to fly.
Thank you. I was trying to remember if that was in season 1 or in season 2.
Yes. He uses the like rocket booster type things out of his hand, very Iron Man-ish. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's based off of Iron Man.
Maybe. It's weird to me that the other two sort of kind of have powers that relate to each other. Like we said, like talking to animals isn't necessarily directly related to being good in the water, but like there's at least a relationship there. Like she can communicate with water creatures.
But fixing things and fire control.
Fixing things and fire from your hands is not exactly they're not really related.
No, you don't want one thing to happen while you're doing the other thing.
Yeah, you don't want to mix those up.
No.
So it turns out it takes a while for them to figure it out. Most of the first season to settle on the truth that they are trapped in a video game.
Yes.
But that is what is going on.
They start seeing things glitching out inside of their world that they're going through. Things start glitching, and Adam actually comes up with the idea of, I think we're in a video game, and they laugh at him.
Yeah. And so throughout the course of the game, they encounter other players. Mm-hmm. And these other players, as Natalie pointed out, have better superpowers.
Yes, I definitely think they do. And I honestly forgot their names. There are another team of players that are up against them to beat the video game. That they find out that's the ultimate goal several episodes in. And these three, the girl can actually fly. One of the guys is like super speed, like...
Yeah, he's like the Flash.
He's like, okay, yeah, like the Flash. And the other guy is like, uses like, what is that called?
Telekinesis?
Telekinesis.
Mm-hmm.
He can like move things with his mind and his eyes glow and everything. Which I think all three of those are better than water goodness. Being good at water is not as good as flying, or I don't know. I think Mira's, she uses them, and they all use their powers to get out of certain things, and she is needed. Those powers are needed.
It's just that they're not immediately obvious powers that you would like, yes, I want that.
Right.
And so I told Natalie, and this is a mild spoiler for season 2, and you find out some of this at the end of season 1, but in, I think like the first episode of season 2, and then the last episode of season 1, you see them, this is just kind of jumping ahead, when they're able to eventually finish the game, we see a live action sequence where they're in the real world, and the host of the show is watching sort of nervously because it's clear something has gone wrong in the game, and he's trying to keep everything together. And so we see sort of a flashback to before this all started and them choosing their powers. So they actually got to choose before they went in which one they got. And Natalie was like, why would you choose
the water?
Why would you choose these? And so something you find out in the very first episode of season 2 is that in this game, the way the format is set up, you get to choose your power, but a power can't be duplicated. So if the other team were able to choose first or just choose very quickly, they wouldn't have had the ability to choose like telekinesis again or flight again. So it's possible that that's part of the reason that maybe a better move set got chosen by the other team.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we find out at the end this is actually a game show.
Yeah.
This is a game show with a live audience, and it is in real life, like human beings. It's a live audience, and these 6 players in 2 teams are put into a virtual world, and they are told they're told that when they go in, they're not going to know who they are. They're not going to know what they're going to be able to do. They're not going to know where they are. They just have to figure out using, deductive reasoning skills.
Yeah.
Their brains, figuring out what their powers are, everything like that, to finally win the game. Pretty interesting. I realized that it was a video game as we were watching. I did not think about that it was a game show in the real world. That
it was planned. Yeah. Because throughout the thing, the feeling is everything is going wrong. So like it's tempting once you know it's a video game to be like, okay, well, they must be players who were supposed to know who they were who came in. Like, you assume, or I assumed that was part of that glitch. But it turns out that's part of the game, and the game is called The Hollow. Like, this game system is called The Hollow, and that's what the show is named after. Did you notice did you see the little detail at the very end of the season?
That her eye kind of did a little glitch.
The girl on the other team, who I can't remember their names either at the moment, looks over at the winning team, the heroes, and sort of, I don't remember if she actually winks or not, but she looks over at Kai, and you see for just a second her eye sort of glitches purple pink, and that's basically the end of the show. Yeah, and so season 2 is very interesting and fun, and it's out there, and you should watch that, and then eventually maybe we can discuss that one too.
Planning on it.
But that's The Hollow. Like I said last week, for me, I totally recommend it. I think it's a show that, especially if you have a little bit older kids.
Yes, it's definitely for older kids.
But it would be fun to sit and watch it and like, what do you think's going on? Like, you can try and figure well, now you know. You listen to some spoilers. But, like, you can talk through, like, what do you think's happening and some of the problem solving, which we didn't get into because they basically every episode they have, like, a puzzle they kind of have to figure out. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. All right, on to part 2 of our part 2.
Should we go to Promoville first?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. We have to stop at Promoville.
Well, we gotta make a little bit of a pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
Stretch our legs.
Yeah, sing a song.
Buy some Snapple.
Yeah, get some beef jerky.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful day in Promoville, a beautiful day for a promo. Would you please, could you please listen to this promo?
Welcome to Geeksploration, the podcast. I'm John Williams.
And I'm Ben Robinson. Do you like time travel?
Movies.
Video games?
Comics.
Sci-fi?
Cartoons.
Or how about action figures?
Well, so do we. Every episode, we pick a topic from the geekosphere and have a little chat about it.
So if you've been waiting for a groundbreaking podcast that does all of this and more, you might have what it takes to be a Geeksploraut.
Come join us every other Tuesday for a fresh installment of Geeksploration, the podcast.
You can find us at geeksplorationpodcast.com or any reputable podcatcher. And likely a few unreputable ones.
Whew, okay, we're back on the road from Promoville.
All right, let's get going on to our second destination.
Yeah.
Well, we're taking this metaphor a little too far.
Yeah, we're not actually... Hey, folks, we're not actually on a road trip.
No.
I don't know. I don't want to spoil that for you, but we are not.
We're not.
You're on a podcast. So we watched Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. And Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
The first thing I want to mention, after we did our episode on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, we found out something that we did not know.
Yeah, that we should have reported.
We should have reported it.
If only
then,
we'd known.
But we didn't know, so we're reporting it now. Dum 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 dum. In 2018, it was announced that remakes of several films are going to be on Disney+. Remakes of several Disney movies are going to be exclusive content on Disney+. One of those being Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, man.
It's called Shrunk, and it's a plot that centers around Nick Zielinski, who in the original is little brother. And, okay, go ahead and say it.
And Rick Moranis is back!
Yes. Rick Moranis is coming out of his long-term retirement.
By the way, thank you to Geeksploration, the podcast, for telling us this, because we wouldn't have known.
We had no idea. Thanks, guys. He's coming out of retirement to reprise his role as Wayne Zielinski.
Can't wait.
And also, did you see who's going to play Nick in the film?
I did.
It's going to be Josh Gad.
Oh, so
and
good.
And it's going to be really good. Yes, he's going to be an adult scientist. So we're very excited about that. That's going to be...
It's like next year, right?
Well, I'm trying to see. So one of the original directors is also coming back. The director that did Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, I believe.
Oh, so it's not Robert Zemeckis?
No. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid and Honey and this new Shrunk is going to be... I'm sorry. It's here somewhere.
Was it Robert Zemeckis that did the originals?
Hold on. Give me a minute. Okay. Actually, I was wrong. It's Joe Johnston directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and is going to be directing Shrunk.
Oh.
The original. The other two were directed by two other directors.
I think I have Robert Zemeckis on the brain because I just watched Back to the Future.
So yeah, we're really excited about that. It's going to be something we for sure are going to watch. It does not have on this page that I'm looking at, it does not have a release date on there, but it could be somewhere else where I'm not looking, and I don't want to look for it right now.
That is fair.
So let's move on to Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, shall we?
Let's.
Okay, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid was in 1992, so we've gone from 1989 to 1992, and it is supposed to be 3 years in the future. Mm-hmm. They have moved to Nevada, because he has gained fame for his shrink ray, and they are trying to reverse it. But the thing is, like, they're going through a lot of tests and everything, and they have a new shrink ray that they're experimenting on, and of course, the guy that's in charge of the lab ends up being the bad guy, blah, blah, blah. But they blew up things at the end of the first one.
It is confusing why they can't just do that.
Right, because the whole thing is that they're trying to do these experiments where they reverse it, where they blow things up, where they make things bigger. So, I don't know. They're trying to figure out how to do that, even though they've done it before, I guess.
It's also kind of funny and confusing because at the time, so this movie came out in like 91 or something, 92, somewhere around there.
92, I said.
You said that.
Yeah.
92. And at the time, things, like, we're already in the technology age and things were getting smaller, trying to make components smaller and smaller was, like, the point of the 90s. Mm-hmm. And so it's weird that they weren't like, I mean, I guess they needed a story, but they weren't like, all right, now we can make, like, a normal-sized, like, microchip and make it even tinier. And we can make tiny computers. Like
tiny computers? What? Well, what if we took our telephones and we made them into
handheld computers? Mm-hmm. So it's funny to me that's not the direction. They're like, we gotta make stuff bigger. Oh man, we gotta make these things bigger. Mm-hmm. And the thing they tested on is like a crystal. Mm-hmm. Like, what's never clear to me as a viewer is like what they are wanting to make bigger. Maybe it's food. Maybe they're trying to make food bigger.
Well, he's testing it on a crystal, so in my mind it was like trying to make diamonds bigger or
right, that's what's confusing about it. And another weird thing about that is that when they test the grow ray on the crystal, it doesn't grow, it like mutates and shifts. And what's funny is while that's happening, he's loving it. The bad guy is watching it.
He's watching it.
He's like, oh yeah, it's doing exactly what I want it to do. And it's not good. It doesn't look good.
So, through a series of unfortunate events, the baby gets the baby gets blown up. I have a couple of interesting tidbits if you're interested.
I love it.
At first, this film was not written for a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh.
At first, it was originally titled Big Baby, and it was going to just be a standalone movie about a young toddler who had a freak accident involving a growth ray and then terrorized Las Vegas.
And then someone was like, we already have this. We already have one of these. Right? Like, they realized that there was already a movie about a ray that changes sizes.
Right. So, what they decided to do was Disney just saw that possibility, rewrote the script to make it a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and made it Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. So it was made into that sequel instead of being its own standalone movie.
That is super interesting.
Super interesting. So most of the characters from Big Baby were rewritten for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but there wasn't a character in the original script for Amy Selinsky, Big Sister.
Right.
So they just decided Amy's going to go to college.
Yeah.
So,
poor that actress.
Yeah. She got to be in it for like 10 minutes. That's something that I noticed when we were watching this is Amy's like, Dad, tell Mom she doesn't need to come to college with me. There's nothing to do there. And the mom's like, Amy, I'm going to go with you to college and get you settled in and everything. And first off, maybe I just was a super introverted kid because I was when I was a senior in high school going into college. I wanted my mommy and daddy with me.
Yeah.
And there was a lot more to do than nothing.
Yeah.
When you get to college. And then the mom comes back, you know, she comes back and finds that the baby's been blown up and she faints like she always does.
Classic
But,
Diane.
Yeah. But Wayne's like, hey, why are you back? And Diane's like, you know what? She was right. There was nothing for me to do there. And I was like, what college is she going to? There's so many things to do to get ready for college.
Also, if memory serves, I don't remember that she took anything with her.
She had like a suitcase.
Yeah.
A suitcase.
Yeah, like this definitely
like
feels like a thing that has happened. Like that there was a point where, but maybe it was around the 80s and 90s that was more common for like parents to like drop their kids off at school. It's hard to know for sure since we were little babies around this time.
Right. So I just thought that was funny because I had so many things to set up in my dorm room. I had to get all my class schedule figured out. I had to figure out campus, you know, and everything like that. And I needed help.
Yeah.
So, and your parents helped you too, right? They went down with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just thought that was silly. Is there anything about Honey, I Blew Up the Baby that you wanted to particularly mention?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The title, I think, is what is the thing that I wanted to go over.
Yes, and I have a thing about that.
So, we talked about last week, and we talked about this last week, that I thought that the name of the movie was Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Right.
And the name of the movie is Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Yes.
And the reason I thought it was Honey, I Blew Up the Baby is because, like in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, there's a line
that says,
where he
Honey,
says,
I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
And she faints.
Yeah. And so there's in the movie, the line where he turns to Diane and she's like, where is Adam? What's going on? He goes, I blew up the baby. And that's like that's meant to be like the tagline that you, oh, that's the name of the movie. But they didn't choose to do it that way. Clearly because they wanted to keep the similarities between the movie titles. So that's fine, but that's why I thought the name of the movie was Honey, I Blew Up the Baby, is because he says I blew up the baby.
And it was originally going to be titled Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But was changed due to fear of negative feedback for the title. Blew Up the Baby sounds
like you exploded
a
baby.
Little more sinister than Blew Up the Kid.
Yeah.
Even though they both say blew up.
Yeah.
You know, but it feels like a difference.
It's too bad there wasn't some way that they could, like, bad grammar that title.
You mean they should have?
Yeah, like, it may not have...
Because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a bad grammar.
I don't know. That's neither here nor there. When
Rick Moranis is with the kid, the baby, who is 2 years old, and he's actually played by twins.
As every child was in the 90s.
Right. And they took turns, like when one was napping, one would be filming, and one would go in the mornings, one would go in the evenings.
By the way, this kid's adorable.
So cute.
If you haven't seen Honey, I Blew Up the kid is really cute, and they let him speak a lot.
He does speak a lot.
We say he, it's these boys, but
right.
But he actually has lines like that aren't all dubbed over. Like,
well, a lot of the dialogue between Rick Moranis' character and the baby, so Wayne and Adam, and don't be confused because we talked about Adam in The Hollow, there are
multiple Adams.
Yeah, multiple Adams. We didn't make that up. Was improvised by Rick Moranis just by what the babies were talking to him about.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So it just, whatever they happen to say, their names are Daniel and Joshua Shalikar. Shallikar.
Shalikar?
And that's a better pronunciation of that. Good. Also, as we were watching it, suddenly we're like, oh wait, it's Carrie Russell.
Yep. Young little baby-faced Carrie Russell.
Carrie Russell in her first feature film. This was her little gateway.
As the wisecracking babysitter. She doesn't wisecrack.
Well, I was going to say, did she crack some wise? I don't remember her cracking any wise. No, she and Nick has a crush on her. Mm-hmm. Again, Nick is grown up. It is played by the same guy.
Not grown up. He's like...
I'm sorry.
15.
He's older, is what I meant. He, really likes Carrie Russell's character, and her name is Mandy. Through, again, another series of unfortunate events, she ends up seeing Adam blown up in his big form, and Nick and her kind of team up because Adam gets loose. They're trying to track him down while Mom and Dad are trying to go find the shrink ray, the original, the OG, in a warehouse full of, it's the Ark of the Covenant, in a crate in a warehouse. That's where it is. And he, finds it. It's just like, they do look, it does seem like the timeline is most of the day they look. Yeah. But
it's huge. Like, they make it clear, they come in and in that scene, you see this giant row of packaged up boxes, and that already is very daunting. They're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? He's like, well, we just gotta start looking. And he's like, yeah, we just gotta stay till we find it. He has a line about it shouldn't take too long, him being really optimistic. Right. And then Diane turns a corner, and they're in a big box store, like a Sam's Club, full of full of these packaged up boxes.
And the thing that I remember as a kid watching this, I hadn't seen it for a long time. But what I've always remembered, is him picking them up and putting them in his overalls pocket.
Yeah, his Oshkosh pocket.
And they just ride along in his pocket. It's been one of those things where that I think of when somebody says, I just want to put you in my pocket. Mm-hmm. Something like that. I think of Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, where he picks them up and sets them in his pocket. I have another couple little tidbits, but if there was something else you wanted to talk about with it.
Well, I did think it was interesting and probably smart. It drives the story more. That in this one, he doesn't embigify all at once.
Right.
Because this new shrink ray doesn't quite work the way that it needs to. He gets imbued with growth energy that gets triggered, they find out later, from electromagnetic fields, which is weird because there are 4 times that he grows, 3 or 4 times that he grows. Mm-hmm. And the first time he's next to a microwave. Right. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see that.
Is this Rich explained science again?
No, okay. It's not. It's just that there's some inconsistency, and maybe a little bit. There's the microwave. So microwaves put out a lot of energy, right? And so I'm like, yes, that makes sense. I can see why that would happen. One of the later times, he's walking. He's already pretty big and walking next to power lines, and I'm like, yeah, lots of energy there. Totally get it. The second time that he grows, he's sitting next to a TV. And it doesn't seem like, and maybe I don't know enough about early 90s televisions.
But maybe they were putting a lot more rays out.
Maybe so, but it's, in my mind, the power sources don't scale. I don't know.
Right.
The TV,
I get it.
The TV doesn't seem like it's putting out more power than the microwave does.
Because then he's around power lines.
Yeah.
Because that feels more like the microwave thing than a TV.
Yeah,
set.
There's actually a lot of energy happening in both of those times relative to his size. But he's the size of he's bigger than a man. He's like Andre the Giant sized. And a TV makes him grow to 20 feet or something. That was the only thing that kind of stuck out. Another thing I'll say, effects wise in this movie, is that they did a pretty good job in this one of doing as many practical effects as they could. I think the fact that they were working with a kid made it hard for them to do something. So a lot of the angles, a lot of the camera angles in this one, especially in the second half when he's
super
at
big
size, is basically just like the kid in a dark room, and they're shooting up at his face, and they're like, just, hey, say this line, now say this line, now say this line.
Or he's superimposed into, like, he's green screened.
Yeah.
And you can tell that those effects.
But that being said, there are some really good, like, when they're standing next to his giant foot, like, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't
that the same one that they put at the amusement park?
Yeah, that's there is a giant foot at the amusement park. I wonder if it's the prop or not.
I'm not sure.
I will say, I don't think that this one holds up as good as the first one does. I think this one aged a little bit more because they needed to do more effects with this one, and a lower percentage of practical effects. That practical effects just hold up better because they're real. Like, there's nothing about them that has to be different, as long as, like, it's not a terrible looking mask or something. Usually that's going to hold up for longer. There were a lot more, like, superimposed and green screen moments in this one that were early 90s quality.
And when he's just bigger, he's played by a man in a suit.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and that man just had to figure out how a toddler moves and stuff. I have one last little thing before we move on, if you feel like it's a good time to move on.
Yeah.
This film, because of this film, Disney found itself in a lawsuit.
Ooh.
Yeah, dum dum dum. It was filed by Mark Goodson Productions director Paul Alter, who claimed to come up with the idea of an oversized toddler. And he says he got this idea after watching his granddaughter, like, knock over blocks and stuff like that. So he wrote a screenplay titled "Now That's a Baby."
Hey, Paul.
He's gonna workshop it.
Hey, Paul.
Maybe he was gonna workshop it.
Hey, Paul, that's a bad movie title.
It had not been made into a film. But there was a screenplay. There were several similarities, just because, like, it's an experiment gone wrong. The case did go to trial in 1993 with the jury finding his favor.
Oh.
And Disney paid $300,000 in damages.
Man.
Yeah.
$300,000 in early 90s dollars.
Right. Also, we hear one more thing. We hear Nick say, "Adam, don't eat us," which is a good callback to "Dad, don't eat me."
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
One other thing that I think is funny about this one that I don't think they did as much in the third one, or at least I don't remember it, is in the original movie and very much in the second one, they do a lot of like big and little puns. Mm-hmm. My favorite one is when he makes his way to Las Vegas, which I think is the whole reason they moved to Nevada. I think they moved to Nevada because the story needed him in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so he's in Nevada, and I can't remember which celebrity they said.
Was it Wayne Newton?
Yes, it was Wayne Newton. Mm-hmm. So the police are trying to get ahead of Adam and clear the streets, and this older couple comes out of a casino, and they're like, well, they didn't do this for Wayne Newton. It must be someone even bigger coming to town. And the man goes, "Honey, there's no one bigger than Wayne Newton in this town." And then Adam walks around the corner, and
he's bigger than the buildings.
And it's funny, like
there's a lot of puns.
There's a lot of big and little puns in this movie that are good.
I love their solution at the end of making Mom huge.
Yes, it's very good.
Making Mom huge so that she can hold Adam still long enough for them to shrink him. Because he has to be actually still for, what did they say, 20 seconds?
They need him to stand still for 12 seconds.
12 seconds. Which doesn't seem like a lot for you people that are listening that have never had a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But 2-year-olds aren't still for 12
Yeah,
seconds unless they're sleeping. And they try to get him to go to sleep and that goes awry. But I love the solution of make mom big.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. Shall we move on?
Honey, we shrunk ourselves.
Honey, we shrunk ourselves. Oh no, we did it again.
So a couple of things that I think are, I say funny, but really they're just kind of weird about this movie from the beginning. So Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves finds us with Wayne and Diane. Diane played by a new actress.
New Diane.
And now slightly older, a few years later, Adam. So the other kids are out of the house.
Right. This is supposed to take place 8 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam should be 10 now. It says it takes place 8 years later, but actually there was only 5 years between movies.
Okay. So right off the bat, there's two things about this movie that I think are weird from the beginning. One is sort of the driving. It's not the ultimate purpose, but it's kind of the thing that kicks off the action in this movie is this dumb tiki statue.
Right.
So we find out right at the beginning, you walk in, you get in the Zelensky house, and there's this giant, like, maybe, it's not, I say giant, it's like 8 feet tall, 8 or 9 feet tall. This, like, tiki statue.
It's taller than a man.
Yeah. That Diane does not like. And,
who would?
And Wayne says that that's what he used his MacArthur Genius Grant money on, was buying a tiki statue. Right. Not working on new technologies.
Why would you do that when there's a big tiki statue to buy?
That's how grants work. Grants are just money that you get to use on whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
And so there's this statue. And that leads us into the next thing, which is this Diane is worse.
This Diane is worse.
It's nothing against the actress that played this, because I think that for what this movie is, it's fine. For
the role that she plays, she does a good job.
Yeah.
But she doesn't play Diane.
She's not Diane Zelensky.
Right.
Y'all. She's mean.
She's very mean.
She's mean-spirited. And because in the first two, Diane is, and we talked about this for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. In the first movie, Diane, and then the second movie, she's so supportive and loving. Like, you can see that she gets frustrated with Wayne. And we talked about this, who wouldn't in these situations. Like, you can understand that. But at her core, she's very loving and very supportive and all this about her family. This Diane,
she's over it.
But it's not even like, it seems like she seems like a different person.
Right.
She is a different person.
She is so over it that she has changed personalities.
Yeah. She is only frustrated and put out by Wayne. It seems like there are moments where where they act in love and stuff, but mainly she has this shrill yell that she does at him a bunch of times. That maybe was kind of a meme of the 90s, like that's a 90s mom kind of thing.
The screaming into your face thing.
Yeah. But I don't know. She got on my nerves a lot in this one.
I know. I wasn't as into her either. If it was just oh no, this is a movie that we found ourselves shrunk and it's a standalone, we've never had another Diane before, then we would take this Diane.
Yeah, I think so. But there's no character continuity with her.
Right.
So in this one, the moms are going on vacation. So I should back up. We meet Wayne's brother. Yes. And they own Zelensky Labs.
Love him, by the way.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yes. Let me find his... do you know his name?
I don't. He was in a bunch of stuff in the mid to late 90s.
I'll get him. Gordon is Stuart Penkin.
Yeah.
Penkin.
So we meet him. They own Zelensky Labs, and Wayne is still very much the mixed up inventor, but he's the president of the company, and his brother Gordon is kind of the vice president, and he's trying to like wrangle Wayne to do like business
almost
meetings,
kind of like PR.
Yeah,
he does a lot of PR stuff,
and he does a great job too. He's very upbeat, and you can tell he's a smart guy, but his thing isn't necessarily the inventing; it's the business running,
right?
And so we meet them and his family, and so he's got a wife and 2 kids who are around Adam's age, like a son maybe 10 and a daughter like around 13. And so they are gonna come over to the Zelensky's house, and the dads are gonna keep the kids for the weekend. The moms are going away on vacation.
Yes, because Diane needs this vacation.
Yeah.
She says that line, I feel like, a million times. She's very over everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the moms are going to head out, but Diane's ready to go. It's, what's-her-face, Patty. She's like, oh, but what if?
So the other mom is like a worrywart.
So these are sisters-in-laws that are going on vacay together, which for me, I have amazing sisters-in-laws. Do I say sister-in-laws?
Sisters-in-law.
Sisters-in-law?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have amazing sisters-in-law.
Nope.
That feels weird. And I would love to go on vacation with either one of them, but not everybody wants to go on vacation with their sister-in-law. So I thought it was interesting that the Zelenskys were the brothers. I thought, it would have made a little bit more sense to me if maybe she was with her sister and the other 2 were, brothers-in-law that went into business together.
Yeah.
But, they do the Zelensky brother stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So the wives leave, the husbands are like, all right, well, what are we going to do? And Wayne's like, well, I've got a thing planned. And so he quote unquote, tricks the kids into running an errand for them. They're going to run down the street, I guess, on rollerblades. It's what they're riding to the store to get some snacks. Because he's going to help them make molecules. He does this whole thing about, we're going to make molecules out of marshmallows. Yeah. And he's like, oh no, I forgot the toothpicks. Hey, go get me some toothpicks. Here's a 10.
How much is toothpicks? And the girl goes like, I don't know, like $8 or something, like $5. And he goes, well, here's 10. Do what you want with the change.
Just get yourself some snacks with the change, and they are going to buy all the Doritos.
Yeah.
But he's like, Gordon is like, Wayne, it's not like you to forget the toothpicks. I love him. And he's like, I didn't forget the toothpicks, Gordon. We're going to shrink the Tiki Man. And so they go up to the attic. There's a joke about that Wayne was ordered by joint counsel, the FDA, and his wife to never use the shrink ray again.
Forbidden.
But that hasn't stopped him from, having it.
Right.
And it's hooked up.
And apparently, I mean, when he uncovers it, it is like beautified.
Yeah, he brings it up.
Yeah.
In the story, he's actually getting ready to send it off to the Smithsonian.
Right. So he's made it really nice and spick and span.
He's added some rails to the top that are like perfect bocce ball size. Perfect.
It's making me think shocks, pegs, lucky.
They're exactly what you would want if you wanted to roll a big ball down them that's going to eventually hit the giant button.
Uh-oh. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it really is. And I just got to say, in all these movies, you know what they don't do a good job of?
Shutting the plastic lid that's supposed to go over the button.
Generally observing safety measures around the shrink ray.
Let's treat it like it's a gun. Let's treat it like it's a loaded gun.
Yeah, it's almost like it's even kind of gun shaped.
How about we don't stand in front of it no matter what?
Even in the first one, I remember, I don't think I even said this in last week's episode, but there's the moment where he's initially trying to shrink that apple in the very first movie, and he walks right up next to it. He gets so close to the apple while the ray is shooting at it. It doesn't work at this point, y'all. He gets right up next to the apple. And then it explodes in his face because he's 1 inch from it.
What would have happened?
If he tripped. What if he tripped?
What if he got even his nose just a little bit in the ray?
In the second movie, he and Nick both just turn their back while little 2-year-old boy who they know likes to get out and run around and escape from things. Mm-hmm. They just leave him over there, not buckled into his stroller, and they just turn around and look away for a minute and a half while he runs up and gets hit by the shrink ray. And now
the blow up ray.
And now in this one, yes, you're right. And now in this one, the Zielinski brothers successfully, very quickly shrink the Tiki Man.
Great. Oh, success.
Down to an unusable size.
What's the point? I said, why not make it into a keychain?
Yeah, make him like 2 inches tall or something. Right. But no,
put him on a dresser.
He's microscopic again.
Yes.
And they bend over and their butts are to the shrink ray. And Gordon says, "Oh, it's revving up again." And Wayne's like, "Don't worry about it. There's no one in the building to press the button." And we both at the same time were watching this movie like, "Turn it off."
Or at least there is a cover over the giant red button. It's like the Deal or No Deal game show cover. It's a plastic cover that you put over it. They didn't even do that much of a safety measure.
So, yeah, I know. Man.
I know.
And Gordon, the quote, I'm going to say smart. Like, they're both smart.
The more level-headed.
Like, Wayne goes, "Oh, there's no one in the building to press the button." And Gordon goes, "Oh, that's true." And like,
yeah, true. All the kids are out of the house. What could happen?
So, they get shrunk, y'all.
What?
A ball falls out of the ceiling where that's where they store their bocce ball set.
Was it bocce or was it croquet?
Well, it might be bocce. I don't know if it's bocce or croquet.
It doesn't matter.
It is. I do remember this. It's painted like a billiard ball. It's painted like a number 3 billiard ball.
Okay.
So it falls down. Y'all, the rails are the perfect size for this heavy ball. And it rolls around. They don't hear it. It rolls around. It hits the button. They shrink. And at first, Wayne's like, "Oh, man, it reversed." Because now they're smaller. than the Tiki Man again. And then they turn around and nope, they is shrunk.
They is shrunk. Mom has realized, paranoid mom has realized she did not leave the medicine for her son because he has a
potassium deficiency.
Which is, when I watched this as a kid, I will always remember bananas have potassium.
Yeah, this is how you learn.
Because of this movie. Mm-hmm. So they run back in to leave the medicine. The kids aren't there because they went to go get snacks. Where are the boys? Let's go see what the boys do as soon as we leave. They run up there. They're like, guys. And they're standing around and looking around that room for a full, minute. I have to I scan a room in 5 seconds. And if nobody's there, I'm out of the room. Yeah. Right? But they're just standing there going like, where are you? It's a room. It's an empty room. And
here's another fun moment of what are you thinking, adults? The shrink ray is revving up again.
The shrink ray's on.
It's on. It's shaking. It's making noises.
And Patty even says, "Is that thing on?" And Diane says, "No way. Wayne wouldn't do that again."
It's on. You can see it's on, people.
There's lights.
There's lights on, and it's shaking, and there's steam coming off of it.
So they stand in the perfect position to be shrunk as well.
Yeah, because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm. This is the first time that he doesn't say the line.
Right.
She says, "Are we shrunk?"
Yeah.
And then she faints. So the fainting does happen, but the classic
"we shrunk ourselves," yeah.
Didn't happen in this one.
Does he say we shrunk ourselves to Gordon maybe when just the guys get shrunk, I wonder? I didn't pay attention.
I didn't pay attention to that either.
So
the phrase "honey, we shrunk ourselves" was not said.
That's not in the movie, yeah.
Right.
So the rest of this movie is all about the kids being at home by themselves. And the girl decides
she's going to throw a party.
She's going to throw a party, even though they were told not to throw a party. She invites her girlfriends over, and the brothers are like, what are we going to do? And she's like, you're going to serve us. And they're like, okay.
And who's the little baby that we get to see?
Little baby Mila Kunis.
Little baby Mila Kunis.
Old 12-year-old Mila Kunis is in this movie. Mm-hmm. And so, here's the deal. The kids, the whole time, it's like, what are we going to do? Since it seems, they notice that the dads are gone. They're like, where'd the dads go? Mm-hmm. After they bring home literally all the Doritos.
They aren't just Doritos. It's a million different types of chips.
Yeah, they bring home like 10 bags of chips.
And then they cook chili in a balloon.
Yeah, the boys want to make a chili volcano.
Which, I mean, sitting here thinking, sounds delicious. But I don't want chili that's been heated up in a balloon because it's going to taste like a balloon.
Yeah. When they get home, yeah, it's a long episode.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We'll wrap it up soon.
So when they get home, earlier Wayne had heard about a space shuttle landing that he thought that they were going to get to go to, and he left a message on the machine that says, change your plans, me and Gordon are going to the space shuttle landing. And it's just now that anyone's noticing that message.
Series of unfortunate events. The kids think both sets of parents are gone for the night.
And yeah, very reasonably, they've been left money for pizza by the moms, but they didn't know it was
$40 for pizza.
Yeah, for like one night.
For one night. But, and again, this is in 1997.
Sure, $1997. They're going to party. The girls accidentally invite some boys over, and it is accidentally. They're doing truth or dare, and they call some boys, and then the boys hear, oh, there's a party, and then they come over to the party house. Because they think they're alone, the younger boys, the cousins, are very excited to like do whatever they want, and the boy with the potassium deficiency is like, I'm not going to take my vitamins. I know he doesn't say he's not going to take his meds.
He doesn't know where his meds are.
Right.
And they say when the moms are leaving, they say, take your vitamins before dinner. Yeah. And that's a rule that Diane says to all of the kids.
So they say they're not going to take their vitamins. But then there comes a moment where he starts to get weak and sick. And this is something we talked about. Like, he's 10. And at that age, I feel like most kids with this kind of a deficiency, like any kind of thing where they regularly need to take medication, they're not like, oh no, I'm fine, I don't need to take it. But that's what he does. He's like, I'm good.
But he hasn't seen his medicine.
But he knows that medicine exists.
Right. He knows that medicine exists. He has not seen his medicine, but you would think that he would alert somebody to, hey, we need to find some potassium.
Yeah, or just like he may think that it's packed in his stuff. He doesn't even look for his pills.
They do look at some point in time.
After he's collapsed. When he collapses, he's in the kitchen. They're like, oh no, we got to find his pills. It's like, yeah, like an hour ago. But this is where we learn that potassium is richly found in bananas because Adam remembers that. And they shove that in his face.
They force feed him some banana.
Yeah.
Banana.
We're
Almost done, baby.
We're skipping
Almost
over
done.
a lot of stuff in this movie, but it's pretty much the stuff that you expect by this point.
It makes me so hungry for French onion dip.
Yeah, the dads fall in the French onion dip. They ride in a Hot Wheels car.
In a bubble.
They
fight a cockroach.
All the fun things you could do if you were little, they do. They do fight a cockroach. They just do this. They just turn a speaker into a microphone.
I mean,
by crawling inside
Wayne knows how to do it.
And so I wonder if that's really that was the moment in this one where I was wondering about the science of it.
Like, I don't know.
Wayne literally just reconnects two different circuits inside of a speaker and it becomes a microphone. I'm like, is that how different microphones and speakers are?
I don't technology, so
it's all good. So long story short, y'all, we're gonna wrap it up for you here.
Yeah.
The parents are able to the dads are able to turn the speaker that's playing loud music at the party into a microphone, and Gordon Zielinski pretends to be God.
This is God. Yeah, God.
Yeah. And he scares off the boys, and then the girls run away too. And the kids are immediately like, Dad, where are you? And he's like, well, I got shrunk and I'm over here. And they're like, oh no. So they get the dads, the moms are in the kitchen, and they go get the moms, and they have this moment at the end of the movie where they've reassembled them, they have instructions on what to do to embigify them again. And they had the classic 90s kids moment of, wait a second.
We could leave them shrunk.
We could never have parents again. And then even Adam's like, we could, there's nothing saying we couldn't do this in like a couple of weeks. We could have a couple of weeks. And then they all just look at each other and then hands in. And all three of them press the big red button at the same time, Three Musketeers style. Mm-hmm. And they regrow their parents, and they all live happily ever after.
Yeah. I'm for sure Diane and Wayne are going to split up at some point in time. Maybe in Shrunk. Maybe in Shrunk.
We'll learn the fate of Wayne and Diane.
Diane, I feel like with all that Diane has gone through, I'm surprised she didn't leave forever ago.
Yeah, especially this Diane.
Yeah. Yes. Original Diane was very forgiving of things. And so this was Rick Moranis' final live action role before leaving acting.
Yeah. I know he was famously on, was it an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? He famously did a single TV role.
Oh, did he?
Like a walk-on thing on a show in like the mid 2000s or maybe early 2010s. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is the last movie he made until Shrunk is about to come out in 2021 or something.
Well, Shrunk is in pre-production right now.
That's what I mean. Like, that will be the next movie that he's in, is this movie over 20 years later.
Right. So that will be a fun thing to see.
Thanks for sticking with us this week. Y'all, we know the last couple of weeks have been longer episodes, but we're talking about fun things. We can't help it. We just can't help it. But we do thank you for sticking with us. We ask that you will go over to the social medias and subscribe to our stuff. So if you're not already a follower on Twitter, head over to Twitter. It's at NotForAdultsCast, NOT, number 4, AdultsCast. You can tweet at us there, any of your thoughts about these movies and shows that we're talking about, or if you have suggestions on something you'd like us to do, go ahead and let us know, because we'd love to take a look. We have a list of things that we're going to keep getting to as we go, and we'd love to add to that list, so please go find us there. We'd also love it if you'd go over somewhere where you can rate and review to our podcast and subscribe. We'd love for you to do all of those things. If you're not already, you can do that at iTunes. You can leave a review as well as a rating. You can also do it at podchaser.com. So as you're going through your day, we know we're still sort of in lockdown mode, but there is tons of stuff that you can still consume. You've got these movies and you've got these shows right at your fingertips. Just don't forget, you're still the boss.
So watch whatever you want.
Okay, bye.
Oh, wow. Bye.